Hello, everyone. We are here today with Angelique, Broadway performer and choreographer. Her credits include A Chorus Line, Crazy for You, Steel Pier, The Wedding Singer, and much more. She's worked closely with many of Broadway's biggest directors and choreographers, including Susan Stroman and Michael Bennett. So, Angelique, we are so glad to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Thanks a
Yeah.
lot.
So, since you've been in a lot of situations where you audition performers, uh,
Yeah.
on Broadway and in other situations, do you find that there's a specific set of criteria that you're looking for, or you just see it when you see it, or how do you kind of approach that, or have you noticed other people in the industry approach people who are auditioning?
Well, the way we're talking about casting for a Broadway musical.
Mm-hmm.
The very first thing is when they do their music first, they'll sing their song first. The very first thing we can see is whether the singer is someone who's not so consumed by how they sound, but what story are they telling you?
Mm.
We're looking for the story.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for the communicator, because usually the communicator is always a good actor. Communicator is somebody who can go beyond the edge of the stage. Oftentimes you go to a show and you go, I didn't like them. You don't know why you didn't like them. Well, they didn't come across. You need a communicator. And so it's not just, are you a good singer, but did you perform that song? And did you understand what you were singing? And did you give it maybe a different meaning? Because you might be singing a whole different song, the same song that you've heard 100 times. What new thing do you bring to the table? You want to be memorable. So you have to stand out. You have to be memorable in some way and be a storyteller. The storyteller gets the job. Always does. Maybe you're not the greatest singer, but you just blew us away with the way you approached the song. I know somebody came and sang, I gave my heart to San Francisco, like that old song, a Frank Sinatra song or something.
Yeah, I love that song.
And he sang it. He didn't get the job, but he really, really made a mark. He sang it as if he was singing it to like a girlfriend, like it wasn't San Francisco, but it made it so personal that I almost started crying at the audition. Yeah, I don't know what he had going on in his mind, but I bought it. Of course, other people in the team were saying, why did he sing that song? This old slow tempoed song. I just thought it was a beautiful performance. I mean, hey, listen, later on, if we're casting for something else, I'd go, hey, what about? Because he made a mark.
Right.
He made a mark. You need to be memorable. And that's what I would say. I often say to anyone, and we'll do exercises and I'll give them 3 characters to be. I'll give them to be I'll put on some random music like Tequila and ask them to be a monkey, a cowboy, or a cheerleader, and ask them to go one by one across a long gym floor. And immediately, the people who are storytellers shine. And I don't even have to say it. I'll say to 30 or 40 kids or students or performers, I'll go, who stuck out in your mind? And they'll all point to somebody. And I'll ask them why. And they'll say, oh, well, you know what? He stopped and pulled out, his gun from his holster and turned his gun. And then, he was paranoid and he turned around and he was looking for somebody who was going to shoot him. And I go, well, okay, wait. Like, why? Was there a story going on? Yes, there's a story going on. We were wrapped by whatever he was wrapping us in,
Yeah.
So that has to happen at every audition, every vocal audition. And then same goes for the dance. You have to tell your story in the dance. And what if there's no story? Make up a story. What if there's no story? What if it's just, I'll build a stairway to paradise, just music, Gershwin music. You got to have something flashing in your eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you think there are ways that you can help students or performers, transition from being in this place of technique to storytelling?
Yeah. I think that every song that they sing has to be broken down to a monologue. And every monologue has got to have a background. It has to have teeth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like by teeth, like every monologue you're going to say, you have to invest some emotional weight to it. That's what I mean by teeth. Like it's got to have some meaning, whatever you're saying.
Right, absolutely.
It has to have some emotional weight. Otherwise, nobody cares.
And I'd love to just follow up because I think it's really helpful for today's students, especially to have that conversation about, how do you approach those areas that you maybe feel weakness or make you feel uncomfortable without, backing off or giving up. Have you found ways
Well,
that are particularly helpful in approaching those situations?
Yeah, well, I think that had it all to do it over again, I would, like I said, I wish I had someone, because I certainly wasn't going to tell myself to do it. When I felt that uncomfortable area, I should have just not backed off and said, you know what, let's go back and sing like There's Got to Be Something Better Than This from Sweet Charity. Like that was all within my range because that was in Cheetah's key. And, do something else that challenged me. Okay. And I would say the moment you feel the fear strike, that's where you have an invitation to try to go and meet your potential. Mm. The fear, that moment of fear is like almost the gates to saying you have a chance to go toward more of your potential.
Yeah, I think
as opposed to shit, I got to get out of here. I can't do this.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a really beautiful way of putting it because, in any sort of performance situation, fear can turn into a powerful fuel. If directed, if you can take that fear instead of back off, but figure out how to channel it, it can become a really, really powerful and beautiful force.
Yes, it can, but it takes a very strong drive to make that happen, right? I didn't. Although I didn't really make a choice to be in show business. I just was in show business. There wasn't like, oh, what should I be, a nurse or a school teacher? I know a lot of my girlfriends, their parents gave them that choice. And, because I'm no spring chicken. And I think back on it, and I think when I came to New York, like I was maybe 20 years old, I did 2 years. I would always recommend finishing college now, because colleges now have terrific musical theater departments or theater departments. Yeah. You can get a really fine education. And I would say that most of the people who come and audition for me, even professionally for Crazy for You, in the last couple of years, we've done 2 separate years of auditions, and they are so ahead of where myself or any one of my peers at the time in the early 80s are at, because due to their terrific 4-year college or master's college in music. They're like already, pick up the music and read the music, could hit the notes. They, some better than others, but yeah, I would strongly advise that. But there's something else. And I think it's not about just doing ABC, there has to be an underlying energy inside your burning in your gut that's calling you to do this, to calling you to be a performer in some way. Yeah. Like a calling, like a doctor is a doctor, right? Like I had something done on my leg yesterday, and I had to take the bandage off, and I just, like, there was some gauze stuck to some little blood there. Like, are you kidding? That to me, the thought of like a person slicing someone open and, trying to make them better, that's a calling. And in the same kind of way, it's not like it's a strong decision. It's something that pulls you, it tugs you. It's a creative thing that tugs at you that you cannot say no to. I didn't make a decision. It was like the stars decided it for me.
Yeah.
And I think I'm so lucky for it, because I see so many people who are out of college, like my friends. I don't know how old you are, but my kids are like 29 and 30, and like they're still searching for what they want to do. And I always just say, well, if you have any urge that something like excites you, go try it, and try it really hard. You'll only know if you keep jumping, back to that. You'll only know if you jump in and get all wet,
Right.
in whatever that is. But I feel sorry for those people who don't know. That's the wrong way. I just feel very lucky that I never had that. I never felt like, what the heck am I going to do?
Right.
I was just going to sing and dance. And I still feel that way, even though, as I started approaching like my 50s, I thought, well, what am I going to do with my life? All I know how to do is sing and dance and teach a dance step. Okay, what the heck am I going to do with my life? And I think at 48, I put myself in real estate school thinking, oh, I love houses, Well, it's a lot more than business to that. But then after that was so simple, I thought, yeah, I can learn anything. I took a broker's class, and I thought, well, that was simple as well. And I gave it my all for about 10 years while I was in a show. And I made a little bit money, but my heart is not there. I just remember like looking at the clock constantly to see how much longer it was going to take for me to sit at this computer and do this research for something. And my heart wasn't in it. I realized that. And then I did another show. And then when that show was over, I went to cosmetology school. At least that was fun. Right. But now, even after learning those things, I'm back to performing, because that's where my heart is.
Yeah.
That or sharing what it was that teaching is not my thing, like teaching on a regular basis to youngsters. But if I am going to just kind of swoop in, I give them stuff to learn, and if it doesn't look good, I quickly adapt it, or put together numbers. That gives me joy, and then I love this sort of thing. What is it? Passing it forward, paying it forward.
Yeah.
With whatever it is that I have, whatever information I have, I'm happy to share it. I think it does require, I think the word passion is overused a lot, but it is the word. It's a passion. It's a drive. Did I know it was my passion? No, it's just this drive where there's no question in your heart that, yes, I'm going to that dance class. Yeah, and then tomorrow I'm going to do this class and that class. It makes you feel good. If it makes you feel good, follow it.
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice, because especially for today's youth, with social media and you're on the internet all the time, it seems like, how could you possibly choose what to do? When you're so inundated constantly with information and images and just different possibilities. And I really like, and have found it helpful in my own life to really think about, what is, when you get involved in something, how does it make you feel? And that can be absolutely telling.
I think you're totally right, Tyler. I think you have to ask yourself that, how does it make you feel? Because with feeling good with whatever it is you're doing, when you feel good, it grows to other things. You're all of a sudden, it excites, ignites your imagination. And you can see how what it is that's making you, and then you link it to something else that may relate to it somehow or correlate, and then it tumbles. You ignite your imagination. It tumbles from there. I truly believe that our thoughts create our reality, I want to say. And so, there's really no time. It's wasted. It's not useful for any one person to think about any negative thoughts. And if you are thinking negative thoughts about what it is you're doing, then it's really time to leave it and
Yeah.
explore something else.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, they're very wise men, from Confucius to Buddhism to Jesus to all of them. I think they all have something great to say, but that one is that, you should live your life in, if you're not liking something, at least have acceptance for it. Because if you don't like where you're at in your life, or you don't like what you're doing, sometimes if it's a job, you can't run away from it, can you? You kind of have to stay there. But I think the way to kind of surrender by accepting it, acceptance in the moment, allows you to just sort of not being anxious about it, but just sitting back and just waiting to see what else the universe has to offer.
Yeah.
But not to think negatively about it. But, I think that in whatever profession, and also you have to be your very best in the moment at this very present moment. I used to always think that I was going to be better or ready for that audition in about 6 months, when I had, 24 more voice lessons in. Now, this could be used in any profession. You think, well, I'm not really ready for that because I really have to learn this program, that program, this program. But what you bring to the table today is your very, very best. Tomorrow, it could be better. Yeah. Tomorrow, it will be better. Every time you sleep on it, I always say, you know what, go home and sleep on it. Tomorrow, they're always better. I go, you guys are way better.
Yeah.
It's
so
cool.
I'd be really interested in hearing your take, and you've touched on this a little bit, but when you're dealing with students, especially who are extremely passionate, I've found there can be often this mentality of not good enough, or I could have done that audition better. It wasn't, and kind of students kind of living in this reference of almost not being in the moment. So I'd be kind of curious as to how you approach helping students find that confidence in the audition at the moment, equally knowing that it may have been better or it could have been better, but it was very much their best for that day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it is tricky because you're all in the same room sometimes with people, and you clearly could just stand there. I mean, in 2 seconds, I could see the people with like much more talent than other people, but I could be wrong too, because that's not where they're going to be. Maybe they need to experience, playing at the Chanhassen Dinner Theater for like 3-5 years before they go, you know what, and then come back to New York. Who knows? It's very difficult to say. So, for example, last week I had 66 high school students, and there was one girl in particular that not only didn't really have that much to bring to the table, she sang decently. I don't recall her auditioning for me. So there were about 3 of us that go around the country to recruit for this program. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really know her personally, but she could barely move, right? And she was extremely sensitive. Like, she was like complaining because she was too close to certain people. She wasn't good enough of a dancer. She had a roster of kind of psychological issues on top of the fact that just she didn't feel like she was a very good dancer, and she wasn't a great dancer. But I have to say that the number I taught had 3 different levels built within it, which maybe some of them noticed and some of them didn't. But I think in that case, in that sort of a case, and this would be more projected to like instructors and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think this is pretty much how people at Lundstrum would approach this. I would only bring out or point out, and people, as she did, ask me, what could I work on? What is it that I could work on? And I would always try to tell her all the good stuff she did.
Okay.
There's really, really engaging eyes. And, maybe, she could be a really quirky actress. I saw that. But I never really told her that she didn't dance well. I mean, she didn't dance well the day that, she did her showcase. But she's also somebody who didn't, maybe somebody like that also say, oh, I've danced my whole life. And I know that not to be true. You can tell.
Yeah.
The ones who dance really well don't say anything. They just dance well. Right. So I think I focus on the stuff that people do well. I don't think it is useful to let anyone who's still learning and trying to grow, that they're not doing well. They don't look well. They're not singing well. It doesn't serve them. I don't think.
Yeah.
It's better just to kill them with kindness and be positive. As that sort of person may not wind up in show business because she was psychologically a little too delicate. You got to be tough.
Yeah.
You got to be tough. You got to let it roll. Oh gosh, I didn't do so good. Laugh it off. Next one. Next.
Yep.
Next. Yep. So, those type of people weed out. Look, she might be like another Meryl Streep. I have seen the stuff that you would never expect. They happen. It happens. Like, wait, who is, getting the parts all the time? You can't call it.
Okay.
You can't call it.
Awesome.
Anyway.
Well, I wanted to give you one last chance. If you, I know we've touched on a lot of advice for students, but I'm wondering if you have any final thoughts or any last bit of advice that you would give to our students at Lundstrum.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, well, my feeling about Lundstrum is much like the Open Jar Institute. Lundstrum is run primarily, and everyone is taught. Everyone they're teaching are professionals, and I think that it's important to really lend an ear. No matter how old a professional is or how young a professional is, they're professional. They've been there, done that. So I would say how fortunate the Lundstrum students are to have this bevy of wonderful teachers, including Patrick. Bevy, I met girls, but yeah. Patrick also is there, and I'm sure, they also have the buckets and the tap shoes guys, and I love them. Incredible. So I think that they need to be, we're talking about being grateful, to really, really not to always listen. Keep your ears open because you're learning from the finest and the best. And I think it's rare to have a school like that in North Minneapolis because, you'd have to come to New York City for the education that you're getting there in North Minneapolis.
Yeah.
So that would be my main cheerleading thing there. And I don't think they know that because that's where they are. Right. They would have to come to New York for that kind of training. Right. So, and they're on top of it, it's done with great love and care and kid gloves, with right. It's the teaching is done with great care. And I don't know if I would have that kind of patience. They have tremendous patience. So I say, to hang in there and continue to listen and learn from the pros. It's something that doesn't happen overnight. And if you want it, you hang in there.
Got it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, yeah. Thanks so much. I know you're very busy, so really appreciate you taking some time to speak with us today.
Oh, it was my pleasure. It was really a pleasure meeting you too, Tyler.
Oh,